All right, hi everybody. We are doing example 3. It says, if you know 1, 0, how do you factor the polynomial? These are your notes from yesterday, so if you do not have them, please ask your sub for them. They should be around somewhere. If you really can't find them, go ask Miss Schwann's. Sorry. So we are going to try to figure out how do we factor our polynomial. Right now I already know one of my x-intercepts. This one, x equals 2. Remember yesterday we saw if we had x equals 2 as my intercept, we could use x minus 2 as the factor. So you just flip your sign, throw it in parentheses. So what we're really trying to do today is take this part, x cubed plus x squared minus 3x minus 6, and we're dividing it by x minus 2. Now you have two options today. You can use long division or synthetic. I don't care which one you use. I'm going to use synthetic because I think it's a little faster, and I have to do this on a, iPad. So for my first one, we are going to do, really what we're solving here is this equation up here. Well, let's highlight it. Oh, I didn't have the highlighter on. We're solving this guy here. So for the first part, we're going to set up our little box. There's my box. Inside the box, you're going to put the opposite of whatever this number was. So the opposite of negative 2 is positive 2. Notice that's the same as whatever our first 0 was. So you're just putting that number in your box. And then you want the coefficient of each of your terms. So I see a 1x cubed. Let's make it blue. I see a 1x squared, so I need another one. I see a negative 3. And I see a negative 6. And then you'll draw your line underneath. Remember, you're going to bring down your number for the first one, multiply whatever's in your box, and then you will put that number underneath. So let's make it blue. Actually black. We're going to add those together. 1 plus 2 gives me 3. Then we're going to multiply by 2 again. Write that number underneath here, so we have 6, and then add. Negative 3 plus 6 gives me 3. And then again, we'll multiply by 2. Whatever that number is going to go underneath. So we have a 6 here. Man, I want that to be black. And then when I do negative 6 plus 6, I get 0. Hopefully today when you're factoring, you should get a 0. If you don't get 0 as your remainder, I would honestly guess that you did something wrong, because we're factoring and it should work out nicely. When I do this, I'm just going to shrink her down a little bit. And oops, undo that. And just move it up. When I do this, I can rewrite my final answer. Remember, you are going to use the numbers that we found as our coefficients, so 1, 3, 3, 0. And then you want to look at these exponents up here, and they're each going to go down 1. So I really have 1x squared plus 3x plus 3. And now technically my remainder is 0, but I don't really need to worry about it. So I know my original polynomial is this whole thing multiplied by x minus 2, because that's what I just factored out. You kind of have two options at this point. Hopefully, ideally, we're done, but you do need to check and see if you can factor this big long equation still. Right now we have 1x plus 3x plus 3. I'm going to do my factoring over here, which means I can do the x method. If I set up my x, this 3 is going to go on top, and the other 3 is going to go on the bottom. And we're looking for two numbers that multiply to 3 and add to 3. Well, my really options are only 3 and 1, which would give me, when I multiply them, they'd give me a 3. That works, sweet. But when I add them, I would actually get 4, so that doesn't work. It could also be negative 3 and negative 1. Again, multiply them, they would give me a positive 3. Add them, they would give me a negative 4. So since I can't use my x method, I'm actually going to be done right now. So my final answer would be x minus 2 times x squared plus 3x plus 3. Notice I flipped my two factors around. It doesn't really matter which order you do it, but that would be your final answer. All right, the next one says factor your polynomial with the known 0. All right, well, we're going to do this one together, and then the next one I'll post the answer on the screen so you can check through it and try to check your work. So right now, right off the bat, we have a point right over here at 3. Let's use an actual marker. So my coordinate there would be x equals 3. Remember, if I have x equals 3, that's really the same as x minus 3 as a factor. So what we're doing for this problem to start with is 2x cubed minus 8x squared plus 9x minus 9 divided by x minus 3. Again, we're going to set up our little synthetic division. We want to do the opposite of this number, or the same as this one, it's the same thing, in the box. So we're going to have a 3. And then we want to do our coefficients. So we have 2, we have a negative 8, we have a 9, a negative 9. Make sure you check for placeholders. Notice I had an x cubed, a squared, a 1, and then no x, so we're good. We don't need any placeholders. I'm going to draw my line underneath. And then we're going to start our synthetic division. Again, I had just a 1 in front of my x, so I knew I could do synthetic division. We're going to start by bringing down the 2. And then we are going to multiply that 2 by whatever number is in the house, so by the 3 there. 2 times 3 gives me 6. I'm going to add negative 8 plus 6 gives me a negative 2. We're going to multiply that by 3 and we get a negative 6. Again, when we add, 9 minus 6 gives me 3. And then the last one, 3 times 3 equals 9. So we'll put 9 here. We have negative 9 plus 9, which will give me 0. Again, that's a good thing. We want our remainder to be 0. If we don't get 0 as a remainder, we probably did something wrong. So right now, it looks like my answer would be, again, we still have whatever we are dividing by, so x minus 3. And then I'm going to take my coefficients here and go down by 1 in terms of my exponents. So we're going to have 2x squared minus 2x plus 3. Again, you want to double check that you can't factor this guy anymore. If I'm going to factor that one, I'm going to do it up here. If we have 2x squared minus 2x plus 3, that one's going to be a slide and divide. So I'm going to take my 2 and we're going to slide it to 3. We'd have x squared minus 2x plus 6. And then if I want to factor that, we would have the 6 on top and the negative 2 on the bottom. So we're looking for something that multiplies to 6 and adds to negative 2. Again, my options are really going to be 1 and 6. 1 times 6 gives me 6. 1 plus 6 does not give me negative 2. My second options would be 2 and 3. 2 times 3 would give me 6. 2 plus 3 would not give me a negative 2. Really, I don't have any options that are going to give me a negative 2, so we actually can't factor it anymore. So my final answer would be x minus 3 times 2x squared minus 2x plus 3. And really, honestly, if we think about it, if I look at my graph, I probably knew I couldn't do my factoring. If I look over here at my graph, let's get a pointer so you can actually see what I'm talking about. This guy. So if I'm looking over here at my graph, follow my little it crosses right here at x equals 3, but then it goes down and doesn't touch my graph anywhere else. If I had some other points along here, along my x-axis, I would expect for my graph to have more than 1 0. But right now we only found the 1, and then we found something we couldn't factor. So that means that the rest of my graph is going to be down here. That's my spiel. So my graph told me too that there's only going to be one nice spot where it crossed my x-axis. So really it's not a surprise that down here I could no longer factor that thing. Alright, this one you're going to try it yourself. I'm going to pause the video and write down my answers and show my work. And then maybe you can start it. Actually, I think I'm going to end up talking through it anyways because I want to make sure you know how to do it. So we have f of x equals x to the 4th minus 3x squared minus 4. I noticed right off the bat I already have 2 zeros. 1, 2. This one's at x equals 2, and this one's at x equals negative 2. Really, the only difference between this problem and the last problem is that you are going to have to do your synthetic division twice, because now I have two zeros. My first one is x equals 2. Remember, if I have x equals 2, that's the same as x minus 2. So we're going to take this thing and we're going to divide it. X to the 4th minus 3x squared minus 4 divided by x minus 2. Notice that I'm missing x cubed, so I'm really going to have x to the 4th plus 0x cubed minus 3x squared. And I'm also missing my x, so plus 0x minus 4 divided by this guy. To do that, we're going to use synthetic division again. Let me zoom out a little bit. Oops, I don't know what I just did, but that's a thing happening. When I do my synthetic division, we're going to create our little box. In the box, we're going to use the opposite of this number here, or whatever this guy was, so 2. And then we want our coefficients. I see 1 in front of my x to the 4th, then we have a 0, then a negative 3, then another 0, and then a negative 4. And again, I'm going to draw my little equal sign down here. We're going to start by bringing down the first number, so we're going to bring down the 1. I'm going to do 1 times 2, that gives me 2. And then we're going to add 0 plus 2 is 2. Again, we're multiplying this number by 2, which would give me 4. We're going to add negative 3 plus 4 is 1. Multiply by the 2 again, which would give me 2. 0 plus 2 is 2. And then multiply by the 2 again, and you get 4. Negative 4 plus 4 is 0. Again, I got my remainder as 0, so I know I did it right. We are going to rewrite our answer. This time we have 1x to the 3rd plus 2x plus 1x plus 2. And right now I have that thing, and I have x minus 2, because that's what we factored by. But then we have that third factor there. It's not third, but, well, I guess technically the third, which is x equals negative 2. Remember, if I have x equals negative 2, that's the same as x plus 2 as a factor. So over here I also have an x plus 2. That means that I have to do my synthetic division one more time, at least, to figure out if I have any other factors. So this time we're going to use synthetic again. I am going to use this number here, my plus 2 here. Really, we switch it so we have a minus 2. And then we want each of our coefficients. So I have 1, I have a 2, I have a 1, and I have a 2. This time I don't need any placeholders because I'm not missing any of my x's. Again, we're going to bring down the 1. We're going to do 1 times 2 is 2. Excuse me, negative 2. This is negative 2. When I add those, I get 0. And then we're going to do 0 times negative 2, which gives me 0. 0 plus 1 is 1. And then 1 times negative 2 is negative 2. And if I add those, I get the 0. Again, I know I did it right because my remainder is 0, which is what I wanted. When I rewrite this factor, I'm going to just, shrink it down one more time. Pretty soon you won't be able to see the problem itself. When I write my final term, again, I'm going to have a 1. We started with x cubed, so it's going to be x squared. There's no x, but there is a plus 1. And then my other two parts are going to be these two up here. My x minus 2 and my x plus 2. Those are going to be my 3 factors. And that would be my final answer. My polynomial factored.